Hey everybody, this is Ben here. Today I'm going to talk about my journey in trying to develop a B2B Saas completely solo, completely vibe coded from scratch. This has been a long process, basically since last November when the whole vibe coding explosion started around Thanksgiving. Specifically when Windsurf sort of had that promo, unlimited promo for vibe coding, for using their app, and the vibe coding explosion like really took off. The agentic style of it. Recently, and then after using Windsurf for a while, I went to Cursor, and then now I'm on Claude Code. And what I found with Claude Code is the level of automation has really expanded, which allows us to test and do a lot more that you really need for a B2B SaaS or for any production app. Because before Claude Code, I really didn't think it was possible to do this. And it's still a question mark, right? I haven't released anything, I haven't made any money, but I wanted to show you guys my workflow and do some live coding and see how it goes. So specifically, my new setup, I'm using the i3 window manager, which allows me to have a really nice set tiled workflow. I'm a Linux guy now. Specifically, actually, I was a Linux guy before I started coding or doing vibe coding, and because I was so sick of Windows and I can't bring myself to buy Mac products, Apple products. So basically, I'm going to show you how I set up multiple work trees with Claude Code that allows us to do, make multiple changes that are safe at the same time. So what you see on the screen now is my main staging branch. Okay, so I've set it to use localhost 4000, which is not a typical port number because I want to avoid conflicting with other projects that I want to run that might use the typical Vite ports. And so this is the app, and currently I just did some work on the sidebar, looking good. And so the stack is all on Cloudflare. So I'm using Cloudflare workers, and it's a single worker that's a full stack app. So what you can do with Cloudflare is that you can use their Vite plugin, which basically allows you to use Vite in development, and then when you deploy it, it's all on a single worker. So the back end is in the same worker, and so it's a very nice system. And I'll talk more about that technical stuff another time. Just right now, I'm going to show you guys how I set up my environment. So right now, for example, let's see, what should we work on? I'll get it testing. Okay, I know what I want to do. Okay, let's investigate the global search component and how we can make it functional with the user's actual records in their context. Okay. Research and report. Okay, so now that that's going, I'm going to go over to my second workspace where I just have a Claude Code running here. And I'm going to tell it to start the server on 4001 and open the app with MCP. Okay, so here you can see I'm in another folder in my dev directory. What this does, what I've set up here is a work tree. So the work tree is another branch in the same development, in the same GitHub repository. And a branch, all that is another version of your app that you're working on, and it's completely independent. And how I've set this up is basically I just sync it with staging by telling it to grab the latest staging and reset to that. And then the database is the same for all of these work trees that I'm working on. So it's always using the same database. So in that case, like if you make breaking changes to the database in one of the branches, it will affect, the other branches that you're working on. But typically you don't do that in development. You're usually making additive changes in the database, so it's not such a big deal. But I'm going to show you how this gets set up, and sort of how I do stuff, and what I'm going to test and work here. So Claude Code is going to start the development server on the port that I want, and it's going to open the app with MCP Playwright tools. And what that's going to give me is sort of a stable work environment to test, either manually because it keeps the window open, the MCP tools, or automatically. And I'm going to show you guys how that works as well. Okay, so it's starting. Great. And the nice thing about this is that the Playwright MCP saves your session information for, let's see here, can I resize this? Yes, I can. Wait, okay. There we go. Okay, so it saves your session information so that it will log in automatically from however we logged in before. I'll show you how I set it up so that it can log in when it's not already logged in. Okay, so here we have the console logs. I usually like to keep those open as well. And you can see this is the previous version of the app that does not have the new, some of the status bar changes. It's still this old name. So if you see here my current version, I'm using I'm using Elevra, which is the actual name of my app. And we changed the sidebar to collapse like that, which is much nicer. Let me just make this the same size so that, there we go. Aha, not quite. Okay, yes, and the lovely auto crazy scroll bug. Okay, so, all right, we're still waiting for some architectural knowledge, architectural research from Claude. And so let's talk about what I want to work on. So basically this app that I'm working on is a database entity wrapper, similar to ClickUp or Notion in those databases. My goal here is to make it a lot more flexible, especially when working with different relationships. And so I've been refactoring the data table, and clearly there are some errors here in relation to the virtual scrolling. So virtual scrolling is so that you don't have to load all of the cells at once. Okay, let me see. Is it working? Okay, it's working on vertical scroll. Okay. In vibe stack component, getting errors on horizontal scroll, likely from recent refactor. So I'm in the middle of some refactoring, and we're gonna let that go. And then next, let's see, what I can do is I will set up another work tree to start working on another feature set, or let's see what we got. Okay, let's go back and look at our, you know what? Okay, there we go. Sorry. Good. All right, so let's look at our, let's look at what Claude came up with to see if we can get this search to work, okay? So we have real-time search and the main issue. Okay, so the global search is disconnected from actual user data. So how can we do this? Replace menu with power search in the search context. Okay, so what we have, now this is new, Sonnet 1 million, but I'm not going to mess with that for now. Okay, so what we have is, I want to ask it about our local data, because we should have all data in local persistence per our legend state system, okay? Yes, I'd like to query this initially. Okay, so let's work on that. Let's see what it says. Okay, let's go back and let's see if the fix was implemented. Okay, so what I can say is, okay, use MCP agent to verify. Okay, so I could just scroll here and test it, and it looks like it did work. But I want to show you guys how I use MCP to test automatically. And what I've done is I've created an agent in Claude just for MCP testing. And so one of the main reason I've done this is because when you use Playwright MCP, it uses a lot of tokens. It uses a lot of tokens. And so what the agents are really good for here, you can see 13K tokens. And what happens is it fills up your context and it really messes up your flow. So when we isolate it in an agent, it won't affect your personal, it won't affect the main flow that you're doing with your tokens. So this is running, and let's see if it works. I'll go back to, right, and so we're already compacting the conversation. Not the end of the world. I know a lot of people like to just always clear on compact, but you know, I'm not really that intense about it. I find that I can still get a pretty good workflow when, you know, after compacts, and I still like keeping in the same conversation to a degree until I get to a point where I feel like, okay, we can stop and commit, and then usually I like to then I'll do a clear. All right, so that's still working. Okay, so now you can see it's found the container, and it's going to try and scroll, and we can kind of watch it live. I know that's super exciting. Yeah, and this is the big problem with MCP, is that it will try to get the response from the console and it will overload the system. It only allows 25,000 tokens, but there are logs for like 50,000 tokens. So it will then try to start to filter and find stuff. Let's see if it can succeed. As you can see, this is very slow, but for having stuff running in the background and working on multiple things, it can be very helpful. So let's see if it can scroll. It's not scrolling. It's a bit disappointing sometimes. See, and now it's using the MCP tester. Oh, okay. So it's okay, cool. Yeah. So here it's using the MCP tester in a way that I wouldn't usually think of. It's examining the indexed DB data structure in the browser. So that's pretty cool. So sometimes it surprises me and sometimes it just kind of fails. So let's see where we are here. Okay, but it didn't actually scroll. Okay, so rather than fight with that, I'm just going to look here. Okay, good. It did work. So I'm going to, okay, commit latest change. And basically what that's going to do, it's going to commit our current snapshot, our current branch, so that we always have a rollback point. So I always like to commit at the end of work. Sometimes it can be hard to want to stop the flow and commit, but I highly recommend you do a git commit as frequently as possible, because even if your code isn't fully fixed, you can always go back. All right, so that's good. All right, so I'm gonna just stop here. Let's see. Okay, so this is still working, so I'm going to update you guys if we can get the once this is done, if we can get the universal search to work, that would be really cool. So I'm going to stop here. Just wanted to show you guys a little bit how I set up my system, and I hope you guys have a great day. Feel free to leave comments, and I will give you guys more updates in the next one. Talk to you guys later.